Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 52 of DoubleDM. Niels and I are very happy to have you here, and I don't want to keep you guys too long, so let's start with pre-show business. First up, a super huge announcement. We made 3,000 listens on this podcast. 3,000 listens in under a year of podcasting is amazing for us. And we want to say thank you to everyone who supported us on the way, especially the Unchapped crew and the Hope for TTRPG's Discord server have helped us so much in growing, and they deserve my and Niels' undying gratitude. Okay, moving on. Why your world matters. Okay, no. I mean, 3,000 listens, that's so amazing. Really, thank you guys. I really didn't think that this would be possible in our first year, and here we are. Okay, Why Your World Matters 3 is still in production, but it's coming along nicely and will be out after the DDM anniversary episode. Yes, you heard that right. Niels and I will also have an anniversary episode, episode 54, which will be the first episode after our anniversary on February 7, is gonna be us talking about our first year, experiences, insight, and a lot of different stuff. So be on the lookout for that. And for Why Your World Matters, obviously, as well. Another thing is, if you want to see me play a too old for this shit fighter, especially a dwarven one, go over to check these out on Friday at 7 PM UK time or 2 PM EST for a one-shot DM'd by Marker called The Trojans, where I and Josh from Check These Out and Jess from Just the Human delve deep into dwarven mines to find the mining company that went missing. It was a ton of fun to play, and I can't wait to watch it all over again on Twitch. And as always, at the end of the pre-show, if you haven't already, please rate this podcast. You know you want to, and hey, it costs you no time and no money to give us a 5 stars and support the show that way. You can also leave a review that tells people why you like this show. This is seriously the best way to support us, and we appreciate it very much. Okay, enough of pre-show business. Let's dive into rewards. Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of DoubleDM podcast, where I annoy Niels.
Yeah, you do. Hello.
How are you doing?
I was doing fine. I'm actually pretty good. A little tired overall because of college stuff, shit, less sleep, scheduling before.
When did you go to sleep?
At 12 p.m., 12 a.m., whatever it is.
Midnight,
exactly.
Okay. I mean, that's still manageable.
That's definitely manageable. But overall, in the last couple of weeks, sleep has been...
I mean, I saw you in Discord playing when I went to sleep, so I just wanted to know if you've played for way longer than me, or you really just went to bed anyway.
Not way longer. Just played some games on Tabletop Simulator. And then at midnight, I said, okay, guys, gotta get going. See ya, basically. Yeah. So, how was your week?
It was fine. It didn't happen much. As in a TTRPG sense, there was a lot that happened, but generally there wasn't anything really, just a lot of work and university stuff, but that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the TTRPG session was great. I talked about it in the last episode, that we were in this dragon paradise and called all the dragons to arrive, and, well, let's say that they did. At the start of the session, we noticed the first dragon coming. And, oh boy, we did not expect this to be such a moment, but it obviously was a moment. The first dragon arriving to paradise, which basically rung the bell on our penultimate adventure.
Okay, so it's really getting in the thick of it now.
And the funny thing about it was that there's a portal to this special realm, and that dragon came through that portal, and we thought every dragon would come to that portal, but no. A little time after, that dragon flew away again and did some stuff he wanted to do. Fine, we didn't know the dragon as well. We know a few dragons, but we didn't know that one. There was this big explosion, thunder, rolling thunder in the sky, and literally a portal opened above us, and the dragon that has sent us on this quest, one of our party members, our wizard slash, let's call him Blade Singer Wizard or Blade. He's good with the sword, but he also casts spells all the time. Who is a servant of that dragon.
Okay.
And we were sent on this quest, and then he came, and yeah, that was a big deal. And he had his cohorts of other dragons with him, of smaller dragons with him, and it was this epic image. Then there was another one, and that was his son, who hates us and him. And then another portal opened up, and then another portal opened up, and then another portal, and the dragons started coming.
So it's the end game scene with all the portals opening up, but dragons.
Yes, and one of the big things is this game has basically classification of dragons. For example, tree dragons, which are small, forest living dragons, pearl dragons, which are I think swimming dragons. Those are water dragons. You have west wind drakes, which are only found on the west coast, and some classification about. But the biggest classification is emperor dragons. That's just the biggest of the best, so more or less. But under those emperor dragons, there's a lot of different still hierarchy. And the big brother of our dragon, I just call him our dragon, also opened up a portal and had in his cohorts, while the others only had like tree dragons and pearl dragons and west wind drakes, he had 2 emperor drakes in his cohorts.
Oh, yeah.
His servants were emperor dragons.
Sure, as you do, I guess.
Because and we struck a deal with that dragon for reasons. So we struck a fire pact with him. So we have a strong ally against our arch nemesis. To make that deal, we gave him a golden armor the size of a dragon. He was wearing that.
Oh, that's a power statement.
Yeah, that's a power statement.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, he and his brother, they are on this brotherly terms of meh. And let's call it that when we told our dragon that we had struck a fire pact with that dragon and that they don't like each other, and then suddenly the problem became that when we told that to our dragon, he said, "Oh, you have a pact with that guy? I will have to think if I help you again."
Yeah.
And all of us went, "Wait, why?" Help, please. No, but the thing is that the 6-headed dragon that called the dragon, since there are 6 dragon lineages from the 6 god dragons, and only 2 heads were awake at the time of calling, we believe only two lineages to come. One is the and now this is German name, but translated to English as best as I can, Purdacorian, the Purdacorian lineages, which is lineage of our dragon and his brother and his son and all of that. All of those dragons are here. And the lineage of Fuldigor, which is another big dragon. And the fun thing is we're also there to stop the resurrection of Purdacor, the more or less ancestor of our dragon, which is a lot of fun because we have a lot of theories that we might have done a big oopsie with calling the dragons. But I'm not going to go into that because I still have to confirm that theory with my other players.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to hear about the possible oopsie you did with calling dragons and cohorts of emperor dragons. It sounds like a lot of weird, exciting fun. Some fun moments still in there. Awesome. I also had a session, by the way, not as big as yours. I just improvised a small one-shot because some players, they fell ill again. Not the same players, but of a group of 7 people, 4 weren't there, so advancing the story wouldn't feel right. So I just improvised a small little one-shot where they had to go through a maze while they were being hunted by some sort of hunter entity kind of thing. And it was a lot of fun in regard of being, we are 4 people less than expected. Okay, let's do something within the next 20 minutes or something.
That happened quite often now at your table, doesn't it?
Yeah, sadly, but in 2 different groups.
Okay, 2 different groups. Is there a reason that you want to get into? I don't know.
I think it's just bad luck because everybody is always excited about the sessions, but then suddenly life happens, or internet doesn't happen, or illness. It's just a string of bad luck. because it's never the same people that can't make it. It's just really, really unfortunate. At least that's what I get from that. I hope it's just unfortunate. But yeah, I'm excited. Next week on Sunday, when the next session airs, when the next episode airs, I probably, hopefully, have a session going then, because internet is fixed for the one that couldn't make it last time. One is out of the hospital again, and the other two are available. So there's to hoping there will be an awesome session.
No one cancels last minute. No one cancels last minute.
Yeah, don't jinx it. Don't. But yeah, and I did some math regarding D&D.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to.
Well, now you need to tell me what you did.
Yeah, I basically calculated the speed of which a dragon can fly, being an ancient red dragon, or ancient dragons in general in D&D. And it was really underwhelming when I found out. Okay. It's about 40 kilometers an hour or 25 miles for an ancient red dragon. And I mean, the world record in sprinting is about 37.5 kilometers an hour. That, I don't know.
I mean, is that with the dash action?
Yeah, it is. It is the base flying speed plus dash. It comes to about 40 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy that. Not from you, but from the book.
Yeah, that exactly.
Right, the thing is that stat blocks are for combat, and for me at least, there are combat abilities that are on the stat block, but the dragon can fly faster without combat when there is no danger, and when there is no, at least for me, that's fucking no. A dragon should be faster than a normal car in Germany.
In a normal car everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt wrong to say a dragon has a maximum flying speed of 25 miles an hour or 40 kilometers. It just doesn't sit right. So I was curious to see how fast the fastest player character can move per round. I found a breakdown where it leads to, I think, about roughly 2.4 kilometers per round. I was curious how fast this motherfucker would be. And it turns out it would be Mach 1.1, something around 1,400 kilometers.
But how? How is that? That's a monk?
It is a multi-class thing. Let me look it up if I find it real quick.
It's a tabaxi monk?
I think it is. Wait a second. It comes to about 7,920 feet per round. That would be 10 levels of Monk, Way of the Ascended Dragon, 5 levels Barbarian, 2 levels of Wizard Blade Singing, 2 levels of Fighter, and 1 level of Sorcerer Wild Magic. The base speed would be 30 feet, plus 20 for the unarmored movement from the Monk, plus 10 feet for the fast movement of the Barbarian, plus 15 from the Elk Totem Barbarian, plus 10 from the Blade Song, plus 10 from the Long Strider, plus 10 from the mobile feat, plus 10 from major beneficial property artifacts 2 times, plus 10 from the transmuter stone, plus 30 boon of speed. Wherever this came from, it is listed in a huge list of, or a huge breakdown. Then you have the base, the haste spell, the boots of speed, and the feline agility, which gives you a 2 times multiplier 3 times. Then you'd use your base movement speed, your action, your bonus action Step of the Wind, your hasted action, your action surge, and your wild magic action. So you come to about 7,920 feet per round. And if you calculate it, blah, 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 you come to about 1,400 kilometers an hour. And then I was curious to see 2 things. The kinetic energy this thing has when it moves, and how many G-forces it would have if it would to stop immediately. And it turns out you have a kinetic energy of around 6 million joules. That's the explosion force of around 6 sticks of dynamite.
Yeah, something along those lines.
1 stick of dynamite has 1 megajoule. 1 million joule would be 1 stick of dynamite. And yeah, if you would stop within the time span of 1 second, you wouldn't experience a negative 41 Gs. So you would probably turn into raspberry jam. And then I looked up the damage that a stick of dynamite does, and was again a little underwhelmed. Because if you string 6 sticks of TNT together, it would deal 8d6 damage. And if some motherfucker moves at Mach 1.1 and punches me in the face,
I want to die.
I want to die. So does he. But anyways.
I mean, the thing is about especially damage, it's, if you think about it, there's so many instances where it's just such a superficial number that doesn't make sense. I mean, contact, right? I talk so much shit about the system, but I still played it for 6 years. In our first adventure, my players had around 12 kilograms of C4.
Oh, that's a lot of damage.
They prepped a certain airlock where they were and trapped the monster in there and detonated everything at the same time.
Okay.
The damage 2 kilograms of the C4 did was 250 damage plus 12d12 if you're in the immediate radius. And I said, yeah, the monster's in the immediate radius of all of them. It's just the easiest. I want them to destroy it at that point. Then they calculated the damage, which was 250 times 6 plus 6 times 12d12.
Mm-hmm.
They calculated the damage. That was and the game had stats for a nuke, a literal atomic bomb that did less damage than the 12 kilograms of C4 to that monster.
Yeah, okay, what the hell?
If you drop that nuke right on the top of the fucking monster, that would have done less damage.
Okay,
and that's just because they never thought in game design that someone would stick 12 kilograms of C4 together and use them, because one is enough. For anything. Nothing in the monster manual for that game has more than 200 HP.
Okay.
C4 is not meant to be put on people.
Yeah. But it is still effective against people anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. But math can be fun in those instances.
Yeah, right. It's there's so much the numbers, and that's why I always tell people that they shouldn't just adhere to the numbers of the game they're playing.
Exactly.
They should, I mean, it's the game, right? You should play after the rules, in my opinion, right? But really, if you stick so close to the rules that you have to adhere by the numbers, at some point it's just gonna break, because for the ease and the sanity of the game designers, even, they can't think of everything.
Exactly. You can build the weirdest shit, because as a whole, the player base of a game has way more weird ideas on what you can mix and match to get the most out of a certain aspect of things than you can ever think of as a single person.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's a whole design team, they never have the capacity to think about everything, and
exactly,
we just need to respect that.
Yeah, so if you want weird shit to happen, let that weird shit happen, and don't stick too close to the rules in those instances, because they can break the fun sometimes.
Yeah.
In those instances, because if you put the time and effort in to build the fastest runner ever to outrace fucking airplanes, then let that happen. Sure. But
why not?
But keep in mind the consequences of what would happen if they run that fast and stop and blah, blah, blah. Make the game your own and have fun with it.
Yeah.
That's basically it. With that, we should get into today's topic.
GemMedFirefly.com combines nerdy interest and aesthetic attitude into one awesome store. Find shirts of the highest quality and softest comfort, along with home items such as mugs, blankets and flags. Collections like the Dungeon Glitch geeky designs or the spicy not safe for work section offer a variety of unique graphics perfect for your message, attitude and lifestyle. Profits from the shop have planted thousands of trees to fight hunger and climate change, while also supporting notable charities and game community causes. Check out the link below or visit GemFirefly.com and skim your favorite shirts right now.
And with that, welcome back to the episode about rewards.
Well.
So, first of all, let's get our bases done. What is a reward?
As always, we discuss what is the thing we're actually talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what is a reward? Well, anything you give your players to reward them, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But what does rewarding actually mean?
The first big thing is making your players happy.
Yeah.
It is hugely important in rewards that they make your players happy, because that's more or less the whole point in the game.
Yeah. I would say, what does it mean to reward someone, right? Is a question that is very, very huge. But yeah, making the players happy, right? It's positive encouragement, kind of, right? They do something and you deem that as rewardable, and then give them something. We will get into the something in a bit, that is meant to enforce them that what they did was right, was good, was fun. One thing though that I need to say about reward, right? You said rewards should make players happy, and that's part of the game. But one thing you need to realize is that often playing the game already is a reward for the players.
Yeah.
If the game you're playing is fun for everyone, that is kind of a reward. So without diving too much into this, think about your game as something your players look forward to throughout the week, because they are, right? This is DM encouragement, because I know some DMs have often the jitters when it comes to, am I doing a good job? Are they having fun? Your players look forward to this all week. They might have had a shitty work week. They might have had some messy things in their life, had a lot of trouble, and come to your table to relax and play a game. And think about your game as a reward to your players after they've had a hard week. So make it fun for them.
Definitely.
And every DM does that. If your players are having fun, you're rewarding them with playing. But obviously, playing the game itself shouldn't be the only reward you give out. Because then you diminish a big fact of the game. Because often, one of the things is rewarding your players makes them happy, right? That it shouldn't just make them happy, it just makes them happy. Your players doing something, killing a monster, for example, and then getting rewarded for it. That's what they want to do. They do something to then advance the story, get loot, and move on, right? So what is a reward? A thing given in recognition of service, effort, or achievement, right? That is kind of what this is. Your players do something in the game that reserves recognition, that where they put effort in, where they put time in, where they put service in, and they gain a reward for that. But often, doing the thing itself already is part of the reward for the players.
Because they can enjoy the game, playing it, or actually playing it is already a reward for the players. And then getting a reward for the player characters also feels good, because this makes everybody happy and you're good to go.
Exactly. So, moving on, Niels.
Yes.
What type of rewards are they even? Because that is something we still need to discuss, especially for TTRPGs. What type of rewards are there?
There are a lot of different types. The first big one obviously would be treasure. Being it gold, gemstones, any sort of thing with monetary value, basically. Being it gemstones, art pieces, gold pieces, or whatever, magic items even. But items can be a different type of reward as well. But fit under the same category as treasure.
Mostly all physical rewards are kind of obviously have some kind of monetary value, but basically all of these things that you just find that are either gold, equivalent to gold, are just treasure. And then magic items obviously sometimes fit into treasure, but sometimes also don't. But generally magic items are just the next type of reward. They fit to treasure, but they aren't just treasure. They are also power-ups, basically. They power up your characters, right?
They're a part of treasure, but not just treasure.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing is the age-old level up in D&D, or right, character advancement. In however the game you're playing does advancement, that is a reward. Every time we enter D&D session, my players ask, do we get a level up? Especially if it's been a longer time for them to get a level up. And if I deem that they've done something, finished up a few things, did their service that reserves recognition, obviously they get a level up. Why shouldn't they?
And how much fun is it as a player to level up your characters?
Yeah, exactly. It's the perfect way to end the session, in my opinion. Leveling up your players at the end of a session, going, hey, you guys, you finished something, you gain a level up. I mean, that's a good feeling in the end.
You just
and then you look
see your
forward,
character getting stronger, better, and power up. You can watch it and do the thing that levels them up or takes them to another level.
Also, then, rolling for HP is, for example, very fun.
No, except when you roll a 1 sometimes.
I mean, I have a reroll once, homebrew rule, but
but it's not the norm, I would say.
It's not the norm. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, also the thing is, it keeps your players wanting to come back, kind of, right? Because now their characters are a level stronger and they want to use the new feature they got. And I think D&D does a good job of that, because there are very few levels where nothing changes about a character. And that is a good way to make sure that every advancement your players get feels like they get something, be it new spells, which every spellcaster gets with every level up, basically, be it new features, be it new ability scores, be it, right? You get so much, and D&D does a good job of that, in my opinion.
Every level up feels right. Like, there's not too much in one level up and then nothing in the next few, but spreading it out a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, the level 3 mark in D&D is pretty important because the whole subclass thing, and then level 5 because extra attacks, third level spells, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But level 2 and 4 don't feel completely unnecessary, though, because you still get some shit there.
Yeah.
There's still something
I think
new.
Until level 5, every level feels like a very, very good level up. And those are the 5 levels that people mostly play on. I think that's even like that. In that range, that's 70% of all the D&D Beyond characters.
Oh, yeah.
So that is roughly around 70% of the D&D characters that get played. So yeah, that is the range you want to reward people, especially against later levels. Like if level 17 isn't as rewarding as 16 and 18 and doesn't feel good, that is still okay because at that point you've been rewarded so often through your level up. But yeah. Another thing would be boons. Feats, for example. Feats are a boon, more or less. You could grant your players a feat for doing something, even without an ability score improvement where they can choose one if they want to. When a guard comes down, or when a terrestrial creature comes down and says, hey, you are now my champion, I give you the lucky feat, or whatever, right? There's a lot of things where you can reward your players with either temporary bonuses or permanent bonuses that aren't actually kind of part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, feats are an optional rule, right? They aren't really part of the basic D&D you would play. So they are kind of a boon if you reward them outside of, for example, leveling.
Oh yeah, and they can be a lot of fun because you can customize the boons according to the thing the players did to earn that.
Yeah.
And customizing it not just to the thing they did, but to the player or the player character itself.
Yeah.
To just make it fit perfect.
Yeah. And all of these rewards we talked about until now have stats. Right? For example, a gold piece isn't a +1 to your damage, but a gold piece is still trackable. Some other things might not be as easily trackable, at least in D&D. Shadowrun is one of the first examples I can think of. Has a way of tracking alliances, friendships, and allies, right? With its street fame or whatever they call it, right? Some games have that. D&D doesn't, other games don't. Yeah, contacts. Basically, allies, alliances, and friends are great rewards for your players if they fit, because my opinion, these are the rewards that enhance your world as well. Because if your players gain an ally in a powerful nation, for example, they get access to that nation.
Oh, yeah.
And that allows you to bring a lot of the world building you want to do, or it makes the world deeper because you can now with your players explore that nation.
Oh yeah, and having allies or NPCs or NPC connections as rewards also leads to a different type of reward, which is often overlooked in my opinion.
Okay.
Information, secrets, knowledge, leads, story hooks, anything like this. That isn't really trackable, but gives players new options to do things, whatever they want to do. For example, if you plan a heist and they have a ally in the city building department, they may get the blueprint of the whole structure, which might help. Without this, they wouldn't.
Yeah. Another reward, for example, for information, secrets, and knowledge is when their players finish a dungeon, they gain the knowledge on how to destroy an ancient creature that has been awoken and starting to kill citizens around the country in form of an ancient scroll or an ancient book or whatever, wall paintings, whatever, right? But they gain this knowledge, and now that knowledge is a reward that can now be used to advance the game. Advancement in the game is always a reward for your players.
And how fun is that as a DM if you give out information as a reward and then it just make click with the with the players. They just figure everything out, put it together, and you are just sitting there like, yeah, good job, thanks.
Yeah.
You just rewarded me with your reaction.
Yeah.
Basically.
Another thing is access to new points, faster access to already known points, transportation, right? Not only a new mount, but access to teleportation circles that allow your players to skip travel is also, it sounds a little bit weird at first, I would say, but it actually, when you think about it, is a great reward for your players.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is. And I think access to faster faster transportation, like teleportation circles in D&D, would be fame or renown or a title or some sort of influence over something or someone, which could also be a good reward.
Oh yeah, 100%.
A noble title is a heckin' awesome reward to give to your players. How awesome do you feel? You start off as a farmer and suddenly you are a noble, a knight, a lord, or whatever with the regarding property that comes with the title. Also a great reward.
Yeah.
Giving your players a home base in a city they do a lot of things in, where they can plan stuff. They now have a house they can customize. They can plan things in. Invite allies, NPCs, or enemies over for discussions and talks. There's just so many things. There are just so many things that you can do with property and titles and fame and renown.
One thing I want to add on to this list I didn't tell you about because I wanted to surprise you is one of my favorite rewards. It's closure to something.
Oh yeah.
Players having a personal quest. Finishing that personal quest isn't really a physical reward or even one of the intangible rewards we talked about, but it's just a reward that happened over time. It's the time they put into finishing that quest, closing that quest more or less, or ending the campaign. That is a reward in itself.
Yeah.
We made it, guys. We did it. I mean, the cheers you have around the table, that should be reward. That is exactly the feeling you want to have with a reward. So closure of something is a reward. This is why I don't like endless campaigns. I don't like campaigns that run on forever because I want closure at some point. At some point, it feels right to have closure for my characters or myself as a player.
And as you did with the Witcher mini campaign that we did, after we finished our campaign, we all had the ability to tell you what is going to happen with our characters. We could shape the rest of our lives of our characters like we wanted to.
The quest was done, right? I didn't have to, your characters could still go on a different quest, but we didn't have to play that quest.
Exactly.
Because the quest we did was done. And that is why I love ending campaigns. I don't do it too often because often my campaigns run for a year or two or maybe even 3. That is long, yes, but there is still closure. There is still closure in story arcs and character arcs and at the end, the campaign, hopefully. But shorter campaigns give you that closure way more often. And that's why I know a lot of people like short campaigns because they get to finish them.
Oh, yeah.
That is a reward if you think that needs to be a reward.
Yeah, it just needs to be part of the whole thing, finishing stuff.
Even if it's a TPK at the end, there's still closure, kind of.
Yeah.
The characters have come to the end of their story.
Exactly.
And that feels rewarding because you can now look back at the games you've played and say, well, I still had fun. That still was a reward for me. And that's why the game itself is a reward. Playing itself is a reward.
Yeah.
So, Niels, I want to ask you, after we've talked a lot about what type of rewards there are, why are rewards even necessary? I mean, we glossed on that fact, but can you put it down into hard points? Why are rewards necessary? Or are they?
I think they are. They are really important because they secure the fun at the table, secure the story advancement or character advancement, and just keeps pushing the game forward on its own because players are incentivized to keep pushing their limits and keep pushing the story forward to get rewards again and again and again.
Yeah.
That would be the boiled down version.
I would definitely say that rewards are also necessary because when you look at the types of rewards, anything is a reward. Your players will make their own rewards anyway, right? They might find their own settlement and base. If they find an abandoned house, they can just say, well, this belongs to us, and you as the GM have little say over that. It's also their game, right? It's not only yours, it's your players as well, and they get a say in that. And that is why I think rewards are important, but you shouldn't think that you need to reward your players for everything, because that can get to other problems real quick.
Yeah, if you reward your players for everything they do, how minor it may be, diminishes the value of the other rewards that you give out.
Yeah. Yeah,
if you hand out level
100%.
ups like candy, it doesn't feel impacting enough.
It doesn't feel earned.
Exactly.
Your players didn't earn it, and if they didn't earn it, it's not gonna feel rewarding. Right, remember what a reward is. It's something that is supposed to reward a service, a deed done, or someone's time spent and their effort. If they know that there isn't any effort, it can't be a reward for them.
Exactly.
So, Niels, we've talked a lot about this, but haven't really actually put it down. When should one give out rewards and who should give them out?
Basic thing, or the most common thing, would be after they finish the quest giver should give out the reward. This is the basic quest structure. You take a quest with someone, do the thing, get back and get paid.
Yeah, that's the basis of it. And I think you can apply this principle to everything. Even if there isn't a quest giver, there's still a quest, more or less.
Yeah,
and the quest, it needs to have a reward in it.
Exactly. You can, but you can metaphorically set something, whatever it may be, as the quest giver. Being it the dungeon just being there is now the quest giver.
Yeah.
With then rewarding you with information after you finish the dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. Every time your players do something that should be rewarded, I would say reward them.
Yeah.
That is, if you feel like your players earned a reward, reward them. One of the things is, I know my players do this as a joke, but I can still sense, for example, when we're talking about level ups, they ask every session, level up, level up, level up. And I know they do this as a joke. Even after the first session, they've been leveled up, right? They do it as a joke. They know that they're not gonna get it. But at some point, I can feel that they want one actually. And that is something you need to sense as a DM. You need to have a feeling for when your players need a reward.
Yeah.
Rewards are needed, right? We talked about that. They are necessary to ensure fun, to ensure advancement. And you need to sense at what point your players feel like they should be rewarded, because that is the point you need to reward them. This is not a job or something. You don't have to play by rules of company structure that your players can only be promoted after 3 years of service to the company. No. Reward them when your players feel like they've done enough work to be rewarded. You should also reward them, because this is for fun, and rewards are fun. And if you don't reward them, that is the only way rewards aren't fun.
And you have to balance the act of handing out rewards like candy and not handing out rewards at all.
Yeah.
You have to walk this line. It can get tricky at some points.
Yeah, I think especially generosity in rewarding is a big point for me, because, okay, Niels, well, how generous are you with your rewards? Tell me.
I would say mediocre, generously. It's hard to describe. I like to give my players enough money that they can do stuff that they want to do without overshowering them with gold pieces, so they could just buy the city.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about having a roof over their head if they want to go into a tavern, but if they spend all their money on magic items, they don't have the money to spend the night, but they would have it technically or theoretically. And in items, I don't hand out too many items, I think. What I like to do, or what I started doing, is creating magic items for my players that level up with them. So I don't have to hand out multiple items, but I hand out one item, and whatever quest they did to level up this item levels it up, making it more intense, giving the sword suddenly a +2 or a bonus effect or fire damage or whatever.
Yeah, I would say I am pretty generous with the rewards I hand out. Matt from Abyssal Brews was on Why Your World Matters Too and said something that really stuck with me, and that was that he's pretty generous with magic items. He's also a magic item creator. If you don't know him, go follow him on Twitter at Abyssal Brews. He and Fernando make great items, but generally he hands out a lot of items, or he's pretty generous with the items he hands out. They are powerful and he hands them out pretty regularly or something. Generally, generosity is a good thing, because if you give your players a lot, they have a lot, right? But that also only means that you can do a lot. That allows you as a DM to do a lot.
Yeah.
If your players are level 4 and only have the fighting power of level 4, you shouldn't use challenge rating 8 monsters. But if your players are level 4 and have the fighting power of level 6 through magic items, I don't know, allies, whatever, then you can also use higher level monsters, cooler monsters. You can add to challenge rating 4 creatures. Challenge rating isn't a good rating, blah. But really, you have a lot of options then. And he said that his combats feel like laser tag. And I think that's a very good description of how fun combat should be. Everyone is hitting hard. The church is on fire and boom, the floor is caving in. There's an explosion in the distance of suddenly horses are running across the field, right? There's so much stuff happening.
Yeah.
And at the same time, your players deal like 50 damage a turn at level 7, and the monster does equal amounts of damage or equal share, and it just feels like a fun, great combat.
Yeah,
and
it just doesn't have to be just damage. You can give your party items or things that give them options to do weird and fun shit.
I mean, Matt also has a blog article about the myth of balance or something, and that balance doesn't really exist. It's also a good read. But one thing I still want to talk about is power creep. Because even though you shouldn't play a zero-sum game with your rewards, for example, that you only reward your players if you really have to, because there isn't really a difference on opposite word to power creep. At least I don't know it. But generally, right, you don't need to keep your players always in a balance. You can have them stronger than they should be or a little bit weaker than they should be. It needs to fit your game, right? That's a discussion for session 0, maybe even. How many magic items do you guys expect? How many rewards do you guys expect? Do you want to have a low magic or high magic distribution? All of these things that at the end influence the rewards you put out are things you can discuss with your players. Maybe they don't want to have a lot of magic items. Maybe they want a lot of magic items, but you still need to think about power creep, because if you give your players 5 magic shields, the 6th magic shield they find won't be interesting to them because it does the same thing as the other 5. They already have enough. That is one thing you need to look out for, but generally, when you have power creep, you don't want to overpower your players to a certain degree. You want them powerful. At least I want my players powerful. And I would say that it's good to have players powerful because that is fun.
Yeah.
But that's the discussion, right? How powerful do you guys want to be for session 0? But there's still a point where it gets too powerful.
Yeah, and I just thought of another reward type regarding power creep, because if you just keep leveling up and keep the combat more or less challenging for the party, they see big numbers, but they don't feel them as big. But if you suddenly throw 4 bandits at a 3-player level 14 party, this just feels rewarding in the sense that they feel that they are mighty and powerful. Because
a show of strength.
Exactly. This is a huge thing because it just shows them how powerful they really are.
Yeah.
If a combat usually takes around 4 to 8 rounds of combat, no matter how high in level you are, it just feels like, you see big numbers, but it doesn't feel right. But then you just suddenly throw in minor things like a bugbear or some goblins or whatever type of low range enemy there is, which they can just completely demolish. Or if they want to just completely ignore. You hit me. Wow. Do your best.
Yeah, one of the things we realized in our first day sessions is we had a tough combat last week, and there was only one tough enemy, and then the other enemies hit, and when we didn't parry their attacks, because this game has an active defense mechanic, and they hit you, then they can deal damage, and they deal damage, and we were like, wow, they deal 6 points of damage, we have 5 armor each, that's 1 point of damage, great, try that 30 more times, and you might actually make me scared.
Yeah.
Like, that just showed us how powerful we are. They obviously also had their leader, which dealt massive amounts of damage, and that was scary. But the goons really didn't do anything. And that showed how powerful we are. And showing how powerful they are is a reward. I agree totally. But Niels, I want to especially ask you, how do you deal with power creep? And I'm talking about the power creep that happens still in your game, right? You had the discussion about at what kind of arbitrary level you want to keep the power level you want to keep your players at. They shouldn't have too many magic items for the amount of the type of game you want to play, right? They shouldn't be too powerful or too weak for the type of game you want to play. But there is still a point. What happens if your players get too strong or too weak? What do you do?
If they get too weak, you can always kind of put in a sort of training arc sort of thing to get them back on the power level.
You can reward them, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just
we could just say reward them. Reward them with something that makes them strong.
Yeah, but do it in a way that fits your narrative.
Yeah. Obviously.
For example, if you find out your players are too weak and got beaten by the first officer of your big bad, and you kind of had in your head that they would win this fight, make a story arc out of this. You feel beaten down, but shit, let's train to get better. We need to stop this. How can we do this? Starting to train, getting magical items, getting allies, and something like this. You can make a fun story bit out of this. On the other hand, if my players are too powerful, I like to show them that there is still a big bad out there who could potentially deal with them more or less easily. And depending on the type of big bad I have, it can lead to, or it could lead to, taking some magic items away for whatever reason or whatever sort of thing that they did to rid the players of the magical item.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I realized for power creep is talk to your players, right? We say this all the time, but
yeah,
really, it's power creep. You've agreed to a certain type of power level in the beginning of the campaign. Your players feel if they are too strong. They know it. And if you go to your players and say, hey, this is too strong, I might need to fix this a bit. Are you okay with that? Most players will be, okay, yeah, I understand. Do what you must, or do it. I don't have a problem with that. And if having that talk about power creep is okay. If you just talk to your players, you want to have a fun game, and if the power creep is destroying your game, which it often isn't actually, but if you feel like it is, that's a talk to have. Your opinion as a DM about that is allowed to get heard by your players, and they are allowed to weigh in themselves. I feel like this weapon my mate has is too powerful. I feel like I don't do any damage and he does 3 times the damage of mine. Either you give me a reward like that as well, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You need to balance, and everyone needs to be balanced the same. If you reward only one player and the other players aren't really on par with that, that's just gonna feel frustrating to the others. So yeah, rewarding is a balance act, like you already said, Niels, right?
Yeah.
Again, as with all balance act in TTRPGs, is they can always be solved with talking, with communication, with openness and kindness. And if you remember that, that is all you need. And yes, you can just throw big enemies at your players to take magic items away. That is totally fine. And players are fine with that. It's part of the game. As long as you don't do it like Deus Ex Machina, this now happens because I want to. It should feel organic, but if it does, your players are fine with it.
It needs a reason to happen.
You take this powerful weapon away from the player because it was too powerful, and now a quest begins to get that item back, and they get it back 2 levels later where it isn't that OP anymore, and they can still use it because they like the weapon. Boom, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing bad about that. So, Niels, you talked about scaling magic items.
Yes.
I want to ask you, how do you scale rewards? Especially your magic items, for example, how do you do that? But also generally, how do you scale rewards accordingly so you don't need you avoid power creep?
I don't really have a system for it. I just go with my gut.
That's okay.
If it feels right to give that amount of money out, or that type of item out, or these amounts of information out, I just do it. Or I consult other people beforehand that aren't part of the game, like sending you a stat block of a weapon I designed, or talking about, or with another DM about these and this is the situation, how much information would be appropriate or something.
Creative dialogue, right? Talking
Exactly.
to others, getting opinions.
This is super important, and I can just advise anybody, if you want to create your own game, talk to others who are creating games already, or DMing games, or even if they are just players, just talk to someone about those things, because this just sparks your imagination and gets you thinking.
Talk to my players about the stuff that they are gonna encounter without spoilering it. Like, well, I have this really cool magic item, look at this. And he looks at it and knows he's gonna get it at some point as the paladin player, but he can still look at it and say, that kind of feels wrong. I wouldn't do this, I would do fire damage. And he doesn't do this because he wants fire damage, but he does this because he thinks this would just make the weapon better and feel right, and that's okay. That's not a problem for me. And one of the other things is you need to talk to people necessarily. Talking to people is the best way because it's exchanging ideas, but you can also just get ideas from listening to others.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, listen to this podcast. You've been here for around 35 or 40 minutes already, so yeah, you're doing this. You get ideas from us, hopefully, but listen to actual plays. that you like, and you will evaluate that other DM's style and find out how they reward their players and can get ideas. The magic items they create could be inspiration for yours. Look at magic. There are so many magic item creators out there. Abyssal Brews, just because I like them the most. They create awesome stuff. Look at it and make your own. Make your own for your own home games. That is great. Obviously don't plagiarize. I mean, especially if you're gonna release it to the public, don't just copy Matt's items. I don't advise for that. But if you have your home game, take Matt's items and change them up a bit to scale them up. I am sure Matt has no problem with that if you do that for your home game. It's your home game. He doesn't have a way to say no to that.
Yeah, and I think especially that's why he creates those, right? To be used. They are there to be used, not to be plagiarized. That's just wrong and awful, but use them in your home game because that's what they are for.
Yeah. One thing I want to still talk about is you glossed on it. Rewards need to fit, right?
Yeah.
They need to fit the characters, the game, the story, the world. They need to fit the whole package. You don't want to place the knowledge of gods in a temple built for demons. And maybe you can if the campaign is about the fights between demons and gods and it fits, but you don't want, you get the idea of, you don't need to just jam a reward in there and hope it fits. You need to make it fit. That's why I don't like treasure tables.
Yeah.
I use them as inspiration for what could be in this dungeon, but I don't want to have random rewards.
Yeah, it just feels weird because, for example, if you fight a wizard in his tower, why would a wizard have an unenchanted plate armor just sitting in his treasure hoard?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right? He can't use that.
He can't even use it, and he wouldn't. Why would he have that?
Yeah, 100%.
You can still use it with hinting to other things the wizard was connected to, but that's another thing.
Mm-hmm. Then it fits again, right? It's about fitting it.
Exactly, but just a random ass wizard sitting in his tower, brewing some potions and discovering and creating new spells probably wouldn't have an unenchanted or even an enchanted plate armor. Why would he?
Maybe if he's a magic item creator, right? Again,
exactly.
you can find so many points why he would have that armor in his tower. But if there if there aren't any hints to that, why is it there, right?
Exactly.
One thing I want to say to everyone: make your own rewards, tailor them to the players, tailor them to the experience, and no one in the world can give you the perfect tailored items. The only person that can is you. Start homebrewing the items. Who cares if they're overpowered? You can balance later. You don't need to balance perfectly. You can ask the internet. You can post on Reddit. Hey, is this too much? They will tell you. You can post on Twitter. People will tell you. Often you can ask people, hey, is this too strong? Can I get an opinion?
Oh, yeah.
And they will give you one. And critique can be harsh. Yes, I know. But really, it's for fun. Don't let it get to you. If someone says your item is bad or shit, then they didn't have anything really to add in value. Just ignore them. You won't lose anything of it. If the item is too OP after you've had it for 2 sessions at your chaos, ask the character or the player, the item is too strong. Can I nerf it? And they will often say, yeah, sure. Because they want you to be happy as well. And if your monsters all get destroyed, you might start feeling unhappy as a DM. You can nerf the item. Yeah. But one thing I want to say really badly is don't work against the rewards. Don't do it. If you give your players something, a flame tongue rapier, balancing that is a different question than working against it. But if you give your players a flame tongue rapier and then actively make that reward of the flame tongue rapier useless, why did you give it out?
Exactly.
Why did you give your players the feeling of, cool, I have something new, I can now have fun with this, and then you only present them with monsters that have fire immunity? Why would you do that? Once or twice, totally okay if it fits the game. For example, a completely different example, what I did was I gave one of my players a flame tongue rapier, and the next 2 monsters he fought were a troll and a hydra. Both monsters where fire damage is crucial to the combat. And why did I do that? Because first of all, I love both of these monsters and they fit the narrative. But secondly of all, because he could use his fire weapon.
Yeah.
Why would I put a red dragon in front of him when he gets a fire weapon and I know he's useless now? Why would I do that? That's just against the core tenet of having fun together.
Exactly. And it's, again, if you give your players players then encounters that where they can utilize the new things they got, it's just another reward showing them how powerful they really are if they can do it.
One thing we still need to talk about real quick at the end is the influence of rewards. Rewards need to have influence, right? That's why you don't work against them. That's why I gave my players a troll and hydra fight after I gave the flame tongue rapier out.
Yeah.
There needs to be an influence because just getting a reward isn't enough, right? We talked about a lot about that giving out a reward is cool and what you should do. But giving out the reward itself isn't enough because your players will realize if the reward is useless, that whatever you rewarded wasn't a reward. Rewards need to have influence, right? If you get promoted in the real world, that influences your pay. You will get paid more. You might get more days of vacation. That is an influence of having a promotion. That is an influence of the reward of the promotion. You can say, yes, it's part of the reward, but it's actually also an influence. Having more vacation days you can use to spend more time with your family. You can spend time on vacation, right?
Yeah.
That is an influence, and that influence is felt by people. And that influence just translates to the game. You need to influence, you need to have influence for the rewards.
Yeah, especially regarding the fame and renown title type of reward. If you, as a noble lord, walk down a city, in the streets of a city, the people will treat you with the respect you deserve, or should. Some may start some weird thing there because of that, because of you being a noble, but the city guard probably wouldn't disrespect you in the way they might have done once because of the way you've been rewarded with titles, influence over city guards, people, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think this about wraps it up about rewards, right?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, one thing I have to say, maybe it's a hot take. Maybe, I don't know. But I believe, because especially with the last things we said now, is rewards also can be and kind of should be forgotten. What I mean with that is your players are supposed to surprise you as the DM. I want them to surprise me. If I give them a weapon or an item and they don't use it and I forget it.
Oh, yeah.
And then they use it against me. That feels good.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. I like being outplayed more or less. And forgetting some type of reward I gave them is good. For example, I gave them a key that can open very specific doors. And then I forget about that key because I never use it. And then suddenly I put some of these doors in there and now they have the key. And I'm like, oh boy, I had a whole challenge prepared. And you just get, like, one of the most fun rewards I can think of is a genie lamp. You give your players a genie lamp, you have 3 wishes now, or basically you give your players 3 wishes, not the spell wish, but general wish, for example, and they don't use it. And you forget the wishes, and at some point they're gonna wish, I wish to know this. Boom. And then they say, well, I used this very specific thing, you forgot about it, deal with it, DM.
Yeah.
That obviously is a shock moment, and it feels like, okay, now I need to think, and yeah, it can take some time, but it's a good feeling for the players and for you when you embrace that. Yeah.
And especially the more creative the use of those forgotten items might be, the more rewarding it feels for the DM, or at least it does so for me. If I give them an immovable rod, for example, and I forgive about this, and they use it they just buy another one and they just use it to climb up through the air without anything. That's a lot of fun. Creative uses of items or completely changing the idea that the item was supposed to be can be a lot of fun, but a tough improvisation challenge for especially new DMs. But if you do it, it's a lot of fun. I can just recommend it. It's just heckin' fun to see what weird shit players come up with if you give them general items with no specific purpose, and then they find their own purpose for this item. Can be a lot of fun. But to recap, basically, a reward is something that is given out as an recognition of a deed done, a quest done, or a thing that the players or the characters did that deserves recognition.
Yeah, recognition for something they did.
Exactly.
You have basically everything to play around with as a reward.
Like treasure, level up, boons, allies, NPCs. We talked about all this. A lot of different shit you can do. Rewards are necessary in the way that they are keeping the engagement at the table high and the ideas that players might get from them. And don't give out rewards as like they were candy, but also do not give out rewards not at all. You have to find the balance between those two.
Yeah.
And keep the power creep in mind, but make them feel powerful without making them feel too overpowerful.
Basically, right, balance it however you want. And every problem that arises with balance, too much or too less, or not enough rewards, can be solved with talking, with communication, with being open about it. And yeah. And then make the rewards fun.
Yeah.
Boom. That is all we can say. Make your own rewards, make sure that they feel right, and then just go for it.
Exactly. And with that, we are at the end of our episode, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DoubleDMPod. You can visit our website at www.doubledm.com, and you can donate to us on Ko-Fi. And with that, thank you for listening. Hear you on the next one, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.